So people with schizophrenia can experience positive symptoms. Now, don't think of positive symptoms as symptoms that are desirable or symptoms that people with schizophrenia enjoy or wish they had. Positive symptoms refer to symptoms that are an addition to something that typically does not exist. So, in other words, a person with schizophrenia has more symptoms than a person without schizophrenia. So, what are some examples of positive symptoms? Delusions. Delusions are defined as faulty interpretations of reality. They are deeply entrenched false beliefs despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. So, for the example, people with schizophrenia can experience delusions of persecution, which are actually some of the most common delusions. Individuals with this symptom believe that they are being plotted against, discriminated against, spied on, slandered, threatened, attacked, or deliberately victimized. They truly believe that someone or some agency is out to get them. Another delusion is delusions of reference. This is when a person falsely believes that insignificant remarks, events, or objects in their environment have personal meaning or significance. So, for example, a person may believe that he or she is receiving special messages from a news anchor person on television. If you've ever seen A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, he believed that the CIA was communicating with him through magazine articles. Again, delusions of reference. Another type of delusion is the delusion of grandeur. This is when the individual has an inflated self worth, believes they are more powerful than they actually are, has extreme important knowledge or some type of special relationship with a deity or famous person. And then another example of a delusion is the delusion of being controlled. So, this is when a person with schizophrenia believes that their feelings or impulses, their thoughts or their actions are being controlled by some other external force. That's sometimes um, aliens, for example. They may believe that aliens are making them move in certain ways and do or say certain things, and that they have no control over their bodily movements. So let's take a look at a quick example of an individual with schizophrenia who is experiencing delusions.
I got TV tooth, they call it. TV tooth is when they surprise you and they put little needles into your scalp. And they listen to me for years, if you know it or not.
Really?
I didn't know it. And they have this really fantastic, expensive equipment they touched me with. They said to me, hey, we can check your head, for if your bump shows up bruised and the electricity's a little different across the scalp of your scalp, we'll guarantee Social Security from that injury on its own. It's considered like cerebral palsy, but it would be muscular dystrophy kind of thing. And so I said, no, I don't think about it. And the next day he comes back and says, did you think about it? Get me right, and all that. I said, well, okay, I'll look at it. Okay, let's go. And then they put the needle in. The last one they put in, they went like this. So when they did it, I had a thought when they pull them out permanent, but they left a little teeny little barb in every one of the places they put me. And they recorded it. And one person who wanted it didn't. Someone else sold it to someone else. I don't know who, but they're able to give a response back because of how thick the dental is in my teeth. How thick the dental is. And with the needles, they're easy to focus a heavier field of pickup reception because of all the fillings I got. And so
Who's listening?
I think it's people like at Stanford and technicians, wealthy technicians and people that do stuff like NASA or any of that kind of stuff. Ames Institute. I came right up to them and tried to sell them that last little one. But for the amount of money they didn't have, I should have just gave it to them.
In that video, that individual was displaying different types of delusions, delusions of reference, delusions of grandeur. So for example, that they were communicating with him through the dental work that was being done or maybe wasn't being done. Delusions of grandeur, where he believed he had these special relationships with NASA and Stanford and Ames Institute. And the drawing he showed was something he drew hoping to sell it to them. So you can kind of see where his thought processes aren't quite based in reality. And in the video, you saw the terms DDX. What that refers to is the video encouraging trainees to create or make a differential diagnosis. So they want to rule out that he's intoxicated, make that differential diagnosis, because if they can do that through blood work and urinalysis and rule out any sort of medical problems that might be causing these symptoms, then they can start focusing in on this diagnosis of schizophrenia. So with that, let's move on to other positive symptoms of schizophrenia, which include disorganized thinking and speech, referred to as a formal thought disorder. People with schizophrenia may not be able to think logically, or they might be speaking in odd ways. One example includes a loose association or derailment, which is indicative of that picture there. That the idea is individuals rapidly shifting from one topic to another. So they may say something like, the problem is insects. My brother used to collect insects. He's now a man, 5'10". 10 is my favorite number. I also like to dance, draw, watch TV, right? So there's no real chronological reality to that story that I just told. It was really not very continuous, for lack of a better word, right? So it's that loose association where part A leads to part D, to part T, back to C, right? Instead of A, B, C, D, that type of linear storytelling. Another example of a positive symptom is a neologism. So it's complicated to say, but I promise this is a real word. But what's interesting is what this means is that individuals with schizophrenia might actually make up words, and these are what neologisms are. So they might say something like, this desk is a cramsicle, right? And they expect you to know what cramsicle means, but it's a word they have actually made up. But again, because of their inability to really grasp reality and understand what others are thinking, they have a hard time comprehending that you don't know this word that they have just made up. Another example is perseveration. So individuals with schizophrenia may perseverate. In other words, they might repeat the same word or the same statement over and over and over. Clang association refers to rhymes. So individuals with schizophrenia might use words in similar sound, but not in meaning. So they might say something like, I like ice cream, so it is a dream. There is a beam, so it seems. You know what I mean? Right, so it kind of has that rhythmic rhyming pattern. So for an example of disorganized thinking and speech, let's take a look at this next clip.
The third type of symptom that may be present is disorganization of thought and speech.
So that the
thoughts are disconnected, and when a person speaks, there's either a great deal of tangential, circumstantial, rambling kinds of lack of connectedness of one thought to the other.
Like in the daytime, when I be outside in the sun, I used to show my friends things that they hadn't seen before, like the halo. See, like the halo, when I was 19, when I was a preacher, and I had my trial ceremony, I used to see a little light over my shadow on the ground in the daytime. And then now, ever since then, it's like a light coming further down over my body, around my shadow. It's over my body, but around my shadow, and I see the light, which is your halo, I mean your aura. And that's why everybody can't see that. But if you see, you got something to do with the drugs too, we say. And now I don't know what's for real. I know what I see, but I don't know if it's for real or not. And so that's why you say people are different. And see, like that anointing, like see, like sometimes when I come outside, I can see when I look at the trees, the wind starts blowing. Cause we know we get oxygen from the plants, and we get them carbon dioxide. And so it's the wind usually blows sometimes, but it don't blow all the time. Like when I'm in the house a long time, it blow real strong.
Hope is here. Safe, proven vaccines are protecting lives and lowering cases, especially in long.
So people with schizophrenia can be hard to understand. It can be difficult to track their conversation because of these loose associations, the made up words, maybe that clang and perseveration. So continuing on with positive symptoms, individuals with schizophrenia might also experience heightened perceptions. So they feel like they're being flooded by sights and sounds that surround them. They can experience this sense of being overstimulated. And these can be actual sights and sounds, right? These are not the same as hallucinations, which we'll talk about next. It can be very hard for individuals with schizophrenia to pay attention to the task at hand because they're overwhelmed by these sensations. Another positive symptom of schizophrenia are hallucinations or false sensory perceptions. In other words, they see, hear, smell, taste, touch things that other people don't necessarily experience. Hallucinations can involve any of the senses. The most common are auditory hallucinations, or hearing things that aren't there, but also common are visual hallucinations. And then individuals with schizophrenia may also display inappropriate affect. In other words, affect refers to emotion. So they can have emotions that are unsuited to the situation. For example, they might laugh at a funeral or become upset in situations that aren't necessarily upsetting, that should actually make us happy. The theory is that an individual with schizophrenia may not be understanding what's going on around them. So they're displaying affect that's inconsistent with the situation. But another possibility is that an individual with schizophrenia is actually responding emotionally to other stimuli that are flooding his or her senses, right? If they are experiencing hallucinations and heightened perceptions, it may make sense that if they're responding to those, they might be displaying affect that's not consistent with their current situation.